There are two great events coming up that have potential to impact many for Christ in Canada.
Bill Prankard and Jacob Walda are here with us today to talk about a stadium event in Regina and the Timothy Conference in Toronto.
Both events will see thousands attend to hear and respond to the gospel and to follow the call of God on their lives.
God is moving in our nation. Stay with us to hear more.
Welcome to LifeLine Today. We're glad you're part of the program. It is going to be a great program, some wonderful events that we're going to highlight.
Really good things coming up, Dick, in Canada.
Yeah. Just a reminder that the phone lines are always open during a program. But if you get voicemail, it's because so many are calling, Joan, and so they will follow you up. Mm-hmm. All the voicemails get followed up. And so just be patient. Yeah, we had Bill Prankard and Jacob here just a short time ago, and there's two events that they are really a big part of. Now, Bill Prankard's doing something called the Timothy Conference. This is the second year in a row.
Yep.
And of course, the idea there is Paul had a protege named Timothy.
Yes.
And then Paul even said, I have no one that is like-minded like Timothy. That's my son, spiritual son. Yeah. And so Timothy was very special. So Paul really saw Timothy as his follower and his replacement. Mm-hmm. By the way, they believe Timothy pastored Ephesus, and the church in Ephesus grew to 100,000 at the end of the first century. So maybe not when Timothy was there, but it was a major Christian center.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then we're also going to feature something else, and Bill is a part of this too, mm-hmm. and that is the Come Together event in Regina.
Come Together event in Regina, and this is where thousands of people will come together, Dick, to worship the Lord together. And to receive a word. Of course, there'll be a salvation message or whatever, but Terrell Smith is leading this, and evangelists and young evangelists from across Canada are coming together to put
Which is why Jacob Walda is a big part of this. He's Bill's assistant, but he's Bill is raising him up, much like Paul and Timothy, right? Yeah. Bill's raising up Jacob, and Jacob has just been such a great blessing that we've come to know him over the years.
And of course, we're also going to talk about the generations coming together then to do these kind of events, but to work together for the kingdom.
So let's go now. We're going to go into the interview and just hear a little more about both of these very powerful events. Well, with us today are Bill Prankard and Jacob Walda. Jacob is Associate Evangelist with Bill Prankard Association, and we're here to talk about some very special things coming up in Canada. And so let's launch right into it. First of all, you did an event before, a year ago. Just mention that.
I think the great thing is on this point, there's good news in Canada.
Yes, there is.
And thank God for this program that lets us talk about the good news. Well, we decided last year, we both felt that we should do a conference called the Timothy Conference, because we've been modeling, the two generations walking together. And when we were in services, ministering together, we saw what God was doing, the merging of anointings, but the merging of generations that really hasn't been modeled well, and it was explosive. So we got together some of our friends who've been in ministry a long time to pour into those coming after, young and old. Yeah. And people came, came literally from all over the world. It was phenomenal. And it was so good that we said, we have to do another one. So we're doing another one. Yes. But the Paul and Timothy, actually, at this Timothy conference in June in Toronto at Catch the Fire, we're releasing a brand new book called The Timothy Generation.
That's wonderful.
Written by a guy named Jacob Walda.
Wow.
All right.
Jacob.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Jacob. Really excited and taking, what we've learned, what I've learned the last few years, and I think we both have learned stuff, and just kind of pouring that into just like the Timothy conference, but being able to encourage both generations, the Paul generation and the Timothy generation on, how to walk with the Lord. My generation has so much to learn. from the older generation. And then I really believe that our generations have to walk together, right? And if we're trying to do a lot of it on our own, and we can't, we lack a lot of wisdom, we lack a lot of, understanding. And it came from Judges chapter 2, where it talks about that after the Israelites had conquered all their enemies, they'd come into the land, and Joshua and the elders of that generation passed. Then came a generation that neither knew the Lord nor what he had done for Israel. And so they turned to worship other gods. And I kind of propose this idea that our generation they just don't know the Lord. But your generation has seen God do incredible things. There's prophetic things that we've talked about in other programs you guys have talked about together. And that's what our generation needs to understand, that God is on the move. And that's why Timothy Conference exists, to give that impartation and to really pour into the generations that are coming.
I heard someone say this, and maybe it was one of you, that there's people that aren't aware of what happened even 30 years in Canada.
Yeah.
Revivals and moves of the Holy Spirit. There's a whole generation that just don't even understand that's all taken place.
Absolutely.
Well, one of the things we do at our Timothy Conference, we have my friend Robert Slaridan come. He does the afternoon sessions talking about God's generals.
He wrote God's Generals, a classic, isn't it?
Well, at 12 years old, Jesus came to him and said, "This is your mandate." And he hated it because he doesn't.
At 12.
But it's study history. And so what he does is go back to people like Smith Wigglesworth, Catherine Kuhlman, right up to Oral Roberts and all of these. And he brings them to life and helps us to learn from those that have gone before. And much to my surprise, his sessions became the highlight of the Timothy Conference. I had so many pastors that said, we thought we could skip the afternoons, but we sat in the first one. We had to come back. So I said, we could never do a Timothy Conference without Roberts. And then Terry Copeland Pearson, who Kenneth Copeland's daughter, but she leads, her and her husband lead the church, lead the ministry now, and leads the Bible college, training up a whole generation. That's her whole heart.
Wow.
And she, I mean,
She's amazing.
It was out of the park. It was just amazing, and becoming dear friends. And then John Arnott, of course, and
Well, he's classic now. He's the Toronto Airport blessing, led revival.
It's all over the world, but he has so much. And his message on the Paul and Timothy was so. And then in the mornings, I sit for an hour with our speakers, and we just ask questions and we talk. It was so good. So we're doing it again this year in Toronto at Catch the Fire, right near the airport. So it's easy for people to fly in. And they're coming back, and we're going to do it. Jacob will be preaching. I'll be preaching, and all our other guests.
That's awesome.
It's going to be great.
Do you have a website, Bill, that people can go to and register?
Right on our website on bpa.com.
BPA.
They can register there. There's hotel information there. Information about our speakers and posters that people can share.
You were full last time, so
it was wonderful.
People better get on it.
It was overwhelming. I love to be overwhelmed, but it's part of what is a key to Canada, raising up an army, next generation. And the enemy has really tried to keep divide between my generation and his generation. And they don't talk to each other, they don't know each other. There's so many young adults. Last Timothy Conference had a meeting before our morning session with 80 young evangelists, and we launched the Canadian
Evangelist
Alliance, and with the goal of 1 million Canadian souls in the next 10 years.
That's amazing.
Terrell Smith is part of it, and Giuseppe City, Adam Nishepsky, and so it's really wonderful. And my generation has to walk with them. They need us, but we need them.
That's right.
Most of my friends are young. And people say, how come? Well, because most people my age are either dead or old, and either way, they're not much fun. And many in my generation have sat back and said, our day's over, or they've been critical. They need to see the heart of this generation.
They've been told their days are over.
They've been told. You know what? There are evangelists rising up that are seniors. They've got the time now, they've got the experience, they've got the finances, and God's calling them. Because the Bible says when God pours the Spirit out, old men, and that's women, old people are going to have dreams of doing things. And I'm still dreaming, and I'm still having visions.
That's awesome, Bill. And the dates?
June 12th to 15th.
June 12th to 15th, you go to Bill Prankard's Evangelist Association website or bpea.com.
Yes.
And you can register, and it's open to everyone.
It's
open.
absolutely.
Yeah, you don't have to be a Timothy, or you don't have to be in full-time
No,
ministry.
it's amazing. But the thing that brought us together 3 years ago, was that I shared my vision, what I'd seen 52 years ago now, of Canon Revival, the stadiums, the thousands on the street. This young man was sitting in the front row. I didn't know him. He was laughing because 3 years ago, he had the vision of stadiums filled, young people on the streets, thousands of them. And that was what connected
amazing.
us. And when he had the vision, he resigned his position in the church, a really big church, Pentecostal church, as youth pastor, resigned, not knowing what he's going to do, knowing he'd give his life to this. I had done the same thing 52 years ago, and we both committed to.
That's amazing.
And then God brought us together. It's like you guys. We're together because of the vision.
Yeah.
Because of
We're
the
together
vision.
because of the
Yes.
vision.
It's an instant connection with us.
Yeah,
I remember
Absolutely, and it was the same with us.
Absolutely.
And it just keeps getting better. And stadiums are happening now.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
I saw them before they were built, and
Yeah.
now they're happening.
that.
Yeah,
And we need to talk about that because there's one coming up right away.
I know.
Absolutely.
So tell us about that. This is in Regina.
In Regina at Mosaic Stadium. And we were there with there's a team of us. And that's what I think is exciting for Canada, for the prophetic thing. It's not just, Bill Prankard's ministry. It's not just Terrell Smith or Adam.
Yeah.
It's a group. It's a collaboration. It's
Yeah.
unity.
Wonderful.
And so there's a group of us who are kind of leading it. Terrell's kind of leading the way with all of us. It's at Mosaic Stadium, June 7th and 8th. And we were there and we saw the stadium, and there's thousands of people that will gather.
Yeah.
And it's really a catalytic event. It's not just meant to be a one-time day. They're training people in churches right across Saskatchewan on how to share the gospel, how to lay hands on the sick, and how to do the work that Jesus said each and every believer would do. And then they're teaching them, helping them invite people to come to the event. George Canyon's going to be there.
Wow.
He was a highlight for, a lot of unbelievers that came. They had 6,000 people. And George Canyon preached the gospel.
Yeah.
People got saved that night. 150 people got baptized in water at the event last year, the same night.
You're talking about Saskatoon.
Yeah.
Saskatoon, yeah.
Right?
Last
You did
year,
this-
and George Canyon was with us last
And
year.
Bill said it's Canada. Right?
Yeah, right.
Well, and I said to when you started this with Terrell, who leads it,
Yeah.
the ministry in Saskatchewan. If God can do it in Saskatchewan, He can do it anywhere. I mean, really. And I was right in the middle of it. Exactly what God promised.
Yeah.
When we pioneered Christian television, our support base definitely was Northern Alberta and Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
I mean, we got support from all over, but those places were
They're
amazing.
good people, and they understand sowing and reaping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do
Well,
it in the natural, and they do
definitely.
it in the spiritual.
So
but
Mosaic Stadium is where the Rough Riders play.
That's right. Yeah, so they see, thousands of people, almost
Yeah.
10,000.
and they've already got thousands registered, right?
4,000 or 5,000 tickets have already, they're free, but purchased through the program. And, Terrell's been really sharing, come find your seat in the end zone, and just encouraging, this place has been packed with people who've been, screaming and shouting for their favorite team. She goes, why don't we scream and shout for Jesus and make his name known? And I think that's amazing to have it in a place, where people gather all the time. And, it's now a place that Jesus is going to be lifted up. Upper Room, we just announced Upper Room is going to be joining us. They're, a very well-known worship team from the United States. And they're coming.
Wonderful.
And they're amazing because their heart, a lot of big names sometimes you can just feel they're coming, being served. They're like, we want to serve you guys. We want to serve your vision. We want to serve Canada.
Yeah.
How do we do that?
Yeah.
And so it's, it's just an amazing group of people. And we were there, we had a pastors meeting in January in Regina, and over 70 leaders got together. And they all have the same vision. It's different denominations, different beliefs, but Jesus is being preached, the gospel is being preached, people are getting baptized in water, and we found common ground to work together because it matters. The gospel matters. And I think, we've been talking about the future of Canada. This is what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
It's not going to be, I don't think, just big names that are just going to appear. It's going to be different ministries like this, working together, joining together, different generations, right? Like, I'm the youngest kind of this tribe of people. I feel very at a place, but I see, what God's put in the vision, to see how we're part of it, and what God is doing, thousands are getting saved.
And the wonderful thing, and this is what you guys have modeled for years, when we did the stadium event in Saskatoon last June, it was several ministries, Canadian ministries, coming together with no agenda other than to see Jesus lifted up.
Yeah.
I mean, the Disciple of City, BPA, Terrell Smith's ministry. We all came together, and then there were others that joined, and God really blessed that. But I sat there, Joan. I'm watching this. I spoke it the first night, sharing the vision I had.
Yeah.
But I sat there thinking, I've seen this.
Yeah.
I've seen 52 years ago. I saw before they were born. I saw them doing this.
It was like deja vu.
Oh my goodness!
More than that.
It was more than that. I thought I'd been here, but I hadn't been there.
Yeah.
And for me to be right in the middle of this, I mean, you think you're out of place. He cried.
Jacob cried.
I cried. Well, because I understand, like, it's been 3 years since I had the vision, but to understand it, Bill's given his life for this.
Yes, he
Right? To
has.
see him, at one point I'm sitting there, he disappeared. And I'm looking around at Terrell's like, there he is. He's right in the middle of hundreds of young people worshiping, and Bill's up there, he's got his hands up. And I'm like, this is 52 years of fulfillment. And I was thinking, about Hebrews 11, the great patriarchs, they had faith to believe. And here I am being a part of seeing that end of the 52 years, the beginning of.
You're making me cry.
So, first thing comes to mind, without a vision, the people perish. So, what we're seeing is God has given visions even 50, 60 years ago to bring life to our present generation. There's a lot of people speak very negatively about our present generation, about our nation.
They don't know them.
No,
They don't know
but
them.
listen, the vision from the past, and it's not that far. It's only 50 years, 40 years, 30 years.
Yeah.
The visions of those years are for today.
Yeah.
They're life for today. We need to lay hold of them.
And what I understood, knowing history and being part of the revivals, every revival, every move of God has its own sound,
Yeah.
has
Yes,
its
it
own
does.
music. Like people say, well, we don't like all this new music. Well, deal with it. Look what's happening. There are thousands of young adults being, like Saturday night in Saskatoon last June, 150 came to Christ. One young guy, he was showing me a picture yesterday of this young guy. He came to the stadium. He'd been raised in a Christian home and then rejected everything. Came to the stadium because he knew there would be chicks there. He wanted to get their phone numbers. And you gave a prophetic word, I think. Tell a story.
We're God, I'm praying for healing. There was a word of knowledge, and I knew that there was someone in that area dealing with depression, anxiety. And so he was just like, that can't be me. And so he said, God, if that was real, then tell, like, the next song that the band plays, may it be my favorite song. And then this lady behind him says, hey, God's speaking to you. Just taps him on the shoulder, and the next song the band plays is going to be your favorite to confirm the word.
Wow.
Sure enough, they played I Speak Jesus, which was his dad's favorite song.
Yeah, right.
His dad's a pastor from Ontario,
Huge.
prodigal son.
So he got saved.
He got saved, baptized in water.
And now
He was in Africa for 8 months on missions, just getting strengthened, poured into. He's back home, reconciled with his mom and dad in a local church, working with one of my good friends
Isn't
out
that
in Ontario.
wonderful?
And so this is the prodigal's coming home too.
Yeah.
see, everything that our generation has preached and prophesied and believed for is happening.
It
is
And
happening.
don't miss it. Don't miss it. And you need if you're partnering with this ministry, that means you're going to be in on what God's doing.
They've
Amen.
said this before. We used to say it all the time. If you just touched all the prodigals,
Oh my goodness.
the lukewarm,
Yeah.
The-
hurt.
ones who have walked away, those who are backslidden is the word they use. If those alone came to Christ in our nation, our nation would be in fire, spiritual fire.
Yeah.
It would be phenomenal.
And they're the ones that are coming to these stadiums.
Really?
Because they won't go into church maybe, but they'll come to stadium, maybe to hear the music or maybe to get checks or whatever. But they come and the atmosphere is so charged.
But they're still hungry for God.
See, that's
And they're
it.
saying, God, could it be that this would be the time when I would reconnect, when I would encounter you?
Wow.
And here's the thing, Joan, you know this, that everybody in Canada, young and old, have been created with a desire for the supernatural.
Yeah.
Amen.
And they're craving the supernatural. So these meetings are not just nice meetings where you sing a few choruses.
Yeah.
People are getting healed. People are being delivered from demons. I mean, it is happening. It's a full gospel. We're preaching the kingdom.
Wonderful.
And so, I'm cheering them on. I talk to Terrell, not daily, but almost daily, as we walk through these things. I've gone on her board because she asked me to, and I just want to be a part of this. But through this generation, through men of God and women of God like this, I am actually seeing the vision fulfilled. Jacob's leading the leading the way up in the Arctic.
So
He's doing the work.
We do have two things going on. Malachi 4 says, turn the hearts of the fathers to the children.
Yes.
He's actually talking about generations, one generation to the other.
That's good.
And he says, and if it doesn't happen, I'll smite the earth with a curse.
Yeah.
Well, just the fact that there's separation is a curse in itself.
Yeah.
And we're seeing that actually play out, especially in Western culture. So what we are saying is God is doing something different.
Absolutely.
He's going to redeem the generations.
And that's why we're doing Timothy Conference. That's why we're modeling this. And what a joy for me.
Do you know what I love to see? I love to see the honor that flows from one to the other here. And I love to see that when generations work together. You know, you've been around for over 50 years in ministry, but you are honoring Jacob. And you're showing honor to him as the younger generation. And he is honoring you and saying, Bill, you've been there. I need what you have.
It's amazing.
This is, I believe, what God is saying is coming. In Malachi 4, when he talks about the spirit of Elijah coming and the generations will run together, I believe that it's all about honor.
And Canada hasn't really done that well, but it's happening. And
It's starting to
honor
happen.
is such an important part of ministry and of revival.
Yes, it is.
And, I find it very easy because when I met this guy, he had long hair, braces on his teeth, whatnot, and wearing a mask.
Turn him around.
And look at him now.
But he was laughing.
He was laughing.
you wanted to know why
And
he
I
was
said, it's
laughing.
not funny, but yeah, it is. It's wonderful. And so I honor this generation.
Yeah.
And we're cheering them on.
Yeah.
We're cheering this next generation.
Isn't it the ironic thing that there's been more splits between the generation in Western world, not other parts. You go to other parts of the world, the Eastern world, it's totally different.
Absolutely.
But
And
in the Western world. But isn't it wonderful
the
God's
North as
turning
well.
these
Yeah.
generations together?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's the only way the church is going to thrive or survive in Canada, because most of the mainline denominational churches, they're filled with old people, and they're getting older and they're dying off.
Yeah.
And then we've got a bunch of non-denoms, they're growing, but they're young people. We need to walk together. We need to work together. It's not an option for us anymore. It has to happen.
And the last day
Has to
will
happen.
pour out my spirit upon all flesh, sons and daughters, and old.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Men, women, everybody.
I know.
We're in.
exactly.
Everybody's got an opportunity to get in on what God's doing
I
today.
think we need the generations in this day and age,
Yes.
especially because of what we're going into, a
stronger,
warfare
we're
that we're
better.
going to shoulder.
Yeah.
And we know we win. But you know what? We're going to go into the warfare together.
Together.
Right?
That's
Amen.
good.
So let us now go. Our
Okay.
God's well able to give us the nation. That's what Caleb and Joshua said.
And
Yeah,
amen.
amen.
Thank you guys for
Thank
sharing
you
with
so
us.
much. This is so exciting.
We're excited. We look forward to the events.
Yeah.
Do you know what it means to be a child of God? It means that you've been adopted into His family. God sees you as a cherished child who bears His name. Just as earthly adoption is a legally binding process that makes you a permanent part of a family, heavenly adoption is just as permanent and binding. You are His child, and He will never take that away. God wants you to find out for yourself your identity in Him by spending time in the Bible. Ephesians 2:19 says, "You are no longer foreigners and strangers, but fellow citizens with God's people and also members of His household." We love hearing from you here in the LifeLine Today Prayer Center. Give us a call if you'd like us to agree in prayer with you for a particular need. Our number is 403-942-0123 or email us at prayercenter@dickandjoan.com.
You know, we do get a lot of feedback off the phone calls and our team tells us the reports, and we really appreciate that, don't we, Joan?
Yeah, for sure.
It's really encouraging, because we know we touch thousands, but it's so great to hear just even a few,
Yeah, right.
So I want to encourage you to call, and thank you as well for partnering. It's really actually very important in this day and age.
That is true.
That media is empowered. So, Joan,
I was so blessed to watch this interview that we did with Jacob and Bill Prankard again, because we haven't seen it for a couple of weeks. They were here a couple of weeks ago and we caught them to do this interview. But Dick, there's something so exciting happening.
Yeah.
And I like what they said. I like what Bill said. He said, this is the future of what Canada looks like. The generations working together, no other agenda than to lift up Jesus and see Canada come into her destiny. And that's been our heart for years and years now, as well in ministry. Dick, I want to say something. If you probably caught the promo for our own Dominion Conference right here, and that's something else that is happening at the end of June 28th to the 30th. And we want you here. Registration is open right now, but it's just another hit in the nation of Canada for Jesus. And of course, Bill and Jacob are both going to be here. Sammy Robinson is going to be with us. Sammy is such a powerful prophetic voice in the nation. And also, Dick, we have Charlotte Quist, who is a pastor who pastors in Grand Prairie, but she also just carries such a heart for the nation of Canada. And she's very powerful.
Very prophetic, too.
And
she'll shock a lot of people because she's really quite a powerhouse.
Yeah. And of course, Dick and me. And we'll be ministering as well. But Ryan and Alyssa will be leading worship along with the Spruce Grove worship team. And that's the church that
Mark Brisebois
pastors. It's a senior leader of.
But Joan, they come as a whole team with dance and all that. And they've worked together with Ryan and Alyssa so many times. So it's actually a really, really good fit.
So our mandate at Dominion Conference is to come together as a critical mass and to worship the Lord, and once again, mine out the now word of the Lord for the nation of Canada, and then release it over the nation. That's what we've done, Dick, for years and years, every year with Dominion Conference. And we believe that what happens here goes across the nation and really is very effective.
Absolutely. Now, somebody said this, they like to just watch the conference on live stream or something. And we do have a registration for that, I believe. But someone said this, watching a fireplace on TV is not the same as actually sitting in front of a fireplace. You see the fire, but you don't feel the warmth. And that's true about a conference.
Yeah.
You have to be here to really catch the fire and the spirit of it.
Man.
And so we would love to see you here.
Yeah.
Listen, we'd love to hear from you. Call the prayer line. We just love our teams that will pray for you, and we love hearing back from you as well. And pray for this program, that it'll just continue strong. We're looking at how to expand it, but God will give us a door, and especially as you stand with us now.
Yes, amen.
As we stand together, remember, we love you, appreciate you, and Canada will be saved.
This program is supported by viewers like you, and we thank you for partnering with us. We want to hear from you. Send us your prayer requests, praise reports, and comments about the program. To watch past episodes, learn about the ministry, or contact us, visit our website at dickandjoan.com. You can also find us on Facebook at LifeLine Today with Dick and Joan, and on our YouTube channel, Dick and Joan TV.